26 North Carolina was on its way to making history out here at Gettysburg before it knew it. Going across this body of water here, heading directly up top there towards those woods, the 26th would earn the distinction of having the highest casualty count of those southern units out here at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We're here to walk that strip of land that's from the creek here all the way to where the infamous shooting of John Reynolds happened. And we're going to take you on that journey and tell you about a soldier that fought with the 26 out here and died out here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So stay tuned. So it was a hot July day, and they were crossing fields just like the one that's behind me here, going ridgeline to ridgeline, and eventually Heth makes his way out here. And the 26 has to cross over bodies of water just like the one behind me here, and they have to get up through this wooded area that we're about to cross over. Also wide open farmlands to fight the enemy directly ahead. Well, in that unit was a man named Eli Setzer. Eli Setzer was pretty young, and he was a farmer, and he enlisted right away in North Carolina to make his way to the 26th eventually. And luck would just have it that the 26th would end up playing a major role in the Confederate Army in a lot of the huge battles that they had throughout Virginia. And they would make their way up here to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. That fight would end up costing Setzer his life. It would also end up maiming and destroying a lot of lives for young men in the 26th North Carolina. Now, when I turn this camera around, I'm going to show you the steep terrain ahead of me. This is kind of part of what this soldier and others are going to have to fight against. They're going to come up through here, and they're going up to the top of this hill and into the woodlot over there, Herbst Woods, where they're going to essentially drive men out of those woods and back across that ridge line just in front of us. But it's not as easy as that. It takes a long time to make it happen, and a lot of things have to go right for the Confederates to be able to drive the Union soldiers off these ridge lines. So it's a muggy, rainy day out here, nice and cold too. This is the waterway that we were just standing in front of when we were talking earlier. And we're going to make our way up through the woods here and just kind of enjoy this scenery, if you will. A lot of people don't get down here past that 26 monument, but as you can tell by this well-worn path, many people do actually make the trek down here, whether it be for hiking or for history. Now, can you imagine being a soldier having to climb through this area, up this hill, and the entire time dealing with an enemy that's pressing real hard, firing down on top of them, making it almost impossible for them to advance. The 26th, though it was a strong fighting unit, really had its hands full here at Gettysburg. So here we are, made it to the top of this hill. There's that North Carolina monument, and across the street, the first thing you see is the 24th Michigan. Those men from the 24th Michigan in the Iron Brigade were some of the toughest fighting men out here on this field. This is what the 26th North Carolina is going to deal with. These soldiers, known as the Black Hats, are ready and primed for the fight. There's that monument right there. We'll turn it around so you can see it better. So just shortly after noon on that hot July day, the lines are being drawn. The 26th has been tasked with doing one of the toughest jobs possible, facing these Michigan boys over here and coming up about 600 yards west of that position right there. They're going to come out of those woods in that area and come up through these fields, and they're going to face those Michigan boys. And then just as soon as they do, a hot sheet of lead blasts right into their face. Almost immediately, a lot of those guys go down, including their leader, Burgoyne. When, I think it's Burgoyne or Burgoyne, but whenever he falls, the next in line has to take command. And the soldiers continue to march and continue to fight. At about 2:30 in the afternoon, those soldiers are pushing hard through these woods, and they are fighting as much as they can to try to make headway with the fight that's on hand. Not a whole lot happens other than the terrible firefight that happens out here and the soldiers being pushed back and forth. Again, we have a tug of war going on, just like you do at the wheat field, just like you do at Peach Orchard, and many of the other places here in Gettysburg. But that first day turns out to be a victory for the Confederacy. Eventually, the Union soldiers here have to push through the town and fall back to their safe spot on the other side of town, the high ground. On this field, there are officers dead. There are privates dead. Soldiers are lying all around here. The 26th is littering the ground. It was a heck of a day for them, both in death and in victory. Now, Eli Setzer from good old North Carolina, he's in this unit just by happenstance. He makes his way out here to Gettysburg, and while he's fighting, he watches one of his cousins go down with a wound to the leg. Then Setzer, Eli, takes multiple gunshot wounds to the body, limbs, legs, all over. He goes down, but what really renders him useless is he takes a couple of shots so close to the hip that it ends up splintering the large bone in his leg to the point to where he can't walk on it, and there's no recourse. He can't amputate. Thankfully for him, Thomas, another one of his, I believe it was his cousin, was kind of back beyond the lines. And when he comes up, he finds him, and he reaches out to get a stretcher bearer out here to take him off the field. Eli goes back to the hospital beyond the field here, and then that's when they realize there's nothing they can do for him. They just have to wait and let death take its course. And that's exactly what they do for the young man. They wait and they let death take its course. It's kind of amazing. The young farmer there and his family are all out here together in Gettysburg, fighting on this field here, just opposite of where General Reynolds would go down dying on this field. Sharpshooters would take him out. Eventually, his younger brother names a child after him, a son. And that son doesn't make it past his first birthday. So Eli's name rests with Eli. It's a sad story for that family. But that's kind of the story for a lot of these units around here. A lot of the units that are fighting in Gettysburg, family members, all of them, neighbors, fighting together, staying together, dying together on these fields. It's one heck of a cost they all paid, that's for sure. Now, on another twist of fate, Zebulon Vance. Zebulon Vance is most notably known for being the governor of North Carolina during the Confederacy. Zebulon Vance was a part of this unit. And had it not been for his election in 1862, he would have likely been here, had he survived any of the other battles, he would have likely been right here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, fighting alongside these boys out here against Michigan. It's kind of crazy how fate twists the stories around and changes it for one person, but then someone like Eli ends up dying as a result of his life story playing out here in Gettysburg. It's pretty insane. So here we are in the position where General Reynolds fell. The Union lines at this point are really starting to take place, at least the main reinforcements that are coming up. And thanks to the delaying tactics of Buford, we get to this point here to where Reynolds can start deploying men. And he makes it over here to the outskirts of these woods. And that's when he utters those immortal words, "For God's sakes, drive those men out of those woods." And then supposedly a sharpshooter out here from quite possibly North Carolina takes him down and shoots what was supposed to be one of the most promising officers in John Reynolds down here on the field. I have the camera flipped around here because we are going to make our way back down through this muddy mess here in Gettysburg down to the vehicle and just kind of show you again the terrain. We came uphill earlier from the water, and now we're going to go back downhill towards where the 26th North Carolina Monument is. Mind you, the Michigan guys are out here. They're driving through this location. They are fighting the Carolinians over here and being driven back. When you're out here during the wintertime and fall time and the leaves are gone, you get a good kind of, I guess, a good respect for what this area looks like, the type of terrain it is. I mean, if you look around me right now, you can actually see through the woods there, and you can see the barn up on the hill. You can just barely make out John Burns's statue or monument. And then off on this side, everything is just so thinned out that you can make out the terrain. And during the summertime, it's a different story. Everything is thick out here, and the undergrowth is huge. So, and again, in those days, cattle would have probably taken care of a lot of this. Animals of all kinds. Now, I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, actually. 9 o'clock in the morning, and I keep thinking about the scheduled appointment I have, if you could call it an appointment. We're going to be meeting Wayne Motts out here at the Gettysburg Cemetery, and we're going to be discussing a couple of questions that I posed to him about his favorite locations here on the battlefield and really the importance and legacy of this field. It's kind of a typical, I guess, a typical question you would ask someone like Wayne Motts that he's probably heard a million times over. And I'm sure he doesn't get tired of talking about Gettysburg, one of his favorite subjects. But I'm going to ask him anyway, because I personally want to know what Wayne has to say and kind of add it to a collection of videos that I've taken since I've been out here, asking similar people similar questions to engage them on the conversation of Gettysburg. Make no mistake, we are out here talking about the Ken Burns Film Festival in regards to 1776 and the importance of that. But we are still in Gettysburg, and if I get a chance, I'm going to tell a story about Gettysburg. Now, we're just about close to the edge of the woods over here. As soon as we come around that bend, we'll start to see that soldier on the top of that statue poking his head up out of the woods over there. It's beautiful out here. Yep, there he is right over there. So as we make our round, you take a look dead ahead. Past this point, just off in the distance over here, is that Michigan monument. Wayne, why do you think Gettysburg is such a special and unique place, not only to yourself, but to other people that come here constantly?
Well, for me, I think it's two different questions. So thank you. I'm honored to be with you, and I appreciate this time and opportunity to be at my favorite place on the Gettysburg battlefield, right outside the National Cemetery here at Gettysburg. So to me, it's really special because my father brought me here as a kid. So I grew up near Columbus, Ohio, and Gettysburg was not only one of the closest Civil War battles, it also was one of the biggest. So we would come here on a regular basis, and I just got really addicted might not be the right word, but I got really attached to it, and I'd love to come and visit here. So I spent all my early years as a child on the Gettysburg battlefield. So for me, it's this personal connection to my father bringing me here to the battlefield. I think for a lot of other people, it's because it's the most visited, I guess, well, it's not actually the most visited National Military Park, but it's certainly one of the most visited. It's the most well marked, I would say, and people relate to that. When the soldiers decided that they wanted to place monuments here after the Civil War, a lot of times they put them here, especially if you were in the Union service in the Civil War. And also because Lincoln gave a Gettysburg Address here. Lincoln didn't go anywhere else, give a talk that every young child memorizes and has terrific impact on all of us today. And that place was here at Gettysburg. And that, I think, separates Gettysburg from all the rest of these Civil War battles.
So 24th Michigan here arrived on the field just before noon, south of the woods that are behind me. And they make it out to this position and end up charging across that stream that I showed you earlier and up to the heights that are just beyond that stream that maybe you'll see in the background there. But there's a rise that's just beyond the stream there. And that's where Michigan advances to. They end up taking captive a lot of men from Tennessee as a result. And when you come out here to see that statue back there, that story is actually told on that statue. But as the Carolinians and the Confederates come across this field, pouring across here, they are eventually broken and flanked and moved beyond those beyond this tree line here and beyond the actual town itself. Eventually, on the 2nd and 3rd of July, they land on Culp's Hill. And that's where they stay for pretty much the remainder of the fight that's out here in Gettysburg. Their fight was tough. They lost a lot of men out here too, as casualties. But victorious was the Union Army, and the Confederacy had to make its way back south into Virginia as a result of the defeat here at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Now, there's a whole lot to be said about 26 North Carolina and the fight that happened here. This video, it's just kind of highlighting the land, highlighting what you can see out here. There's really not much else I want to tell because the weather's really not cooperating. I can't get the gear out and do the things that I really want to do with this story. But when I come to this place, every time, I always look for an individual story of a soldier who fought out here, whether it be a Southern soldier or a Northern soldier. And this time, it just happens to be young Eli fighting out here on these fields. You gotta understand, these men, they're a lot like you and me. They had dreams, they had things that they wanted to do in their lives. And some of them ended right here, in these very fields where I'm standing and talking to you right now. Their dreams ended here. Their aspirations ended here. And they didn't get to live on to see what our society would become or what importance their fight here, how important it would be to us in the future. You gotta wonder what they would think about us today, though. This is an amazing place. And every story that we tell here is unique to itself, very important, but also very alike, as these men had an understanding of each other. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our little trek up the hill here for the 26th North Carolina towards Michigan and the Iron Brigade, and to where General Reynolds fell on this field. We're going to continue to make our way around here and piece together another story, or three, and going to bring those to you right here. So stay tuned and stick around. We got a lot more to come, including a film about the film festival itself, because we want to show you exactly what this is all about. And then maybe one of these days, when it happens again, you'll come on out and visit and be a part of this thing. Well, until next time, this is History with Waffles. We'll see you on those fields.